God says, "My child, come closer and quiet every anxious thought that has been running through your heart, because there are moments in life when what appears to be silence is not the absence of my presence but the evidence that I am working beyond what your eyes can understand. Listen carefully, my child, because what I am about to share is not a prediction for your future, but an invitation to remember that I am always at work in ways greater than human understanding. Imagine, for a moment, a family gathered together in a quiet room. Words are spoken carefully. Hearts carry questions that have remained hidden for a long time. Some people are hopeful. Others are uncertain. A few are afraid of change because change asks them to release what has always felt familiar. This story is not about certainty. It is about how love, fear, healing, and faith often meet in the same place before a new beginning is born. Stay with me, my child, because this is only the beginning. You have spent so much time wondering why certain doors remained closed, why conversations seemed unfinished, and why your heart kept sensing that something meaningful was unfolding somewhere beyond your reach. I have seen every silent prayer you whispered when no one else knew you were hurting. I have seen the tears that never reached another person's eyes. I have seen the nights when you questioned whether hope itself had forgotten your name. Yet even in those moments, I never stepped away from you. I remained beside you, guiding your steps through valleys you did not understand, strengthening your spirit while you believed you were walking alone. Do not stop listening, because there is something your heart needs to remember today. Every person carries unseen battles. Every family carries untold stories. Every relationship carries moments where misunderstanding speaks louder than love. But even within confusion, compassion can begin to grow. Sometimes hearts soften quietly, not because every answer has appeared, but because grace begins to replace fear. Imagine those gathered around the table slowly realizing that every opinion they once held was incomplete. Imagine them discovering that assumptions cannot reveal the truth hidden inside another person's soul. One by one, silence fills the room. Not an empty silence, but the kind that invites reflection. The kind that reminds people to look beyond appearances. My child, many of the greatest changes begin in moments that seem ordinary to the world. Keep listening, because what seems small today can become the foundation of tomorrow's peace. There are seasons when you believe nothing is moving, when every prayer feels suspended between heaven and earth. Yet I ask you to trust that unseen growth often happens beneath the surface before it ever appears above the ground. Just as a seed develops in darkness before reaching toward the light, your own journey has been preparing you for a deeper understanding of patience, forgiveness, and hope. Do not look away. Your spirit already sensed that your story was becoming something greater than disappointment. It was becoming a testimony of endurance. Imagine gentle light filling that quiet Room, not as something visible to human eyes, but as a symbol of wisdom entering hearts that once held only uncertainty. One person remembers kindness. Another remembers honesty. Another remembers a simple act of compassion that refused to fade with time. Little by little, old fears lose their strength. My child, this is how healing often begins. Not with loud declarations, but with quiet moments when pride finally gives way to understanding. There is something you still do not know. Every time you chose forgiveness over bitterness, you changed your own heart before you ever changed anyone else's. Every time you chose hope instead of despair, you planted seeds whose harvest you could not yet see. Every time you refused to let darkness define your future, you stepped closer to the purpose I had prepared for you long before your fears ever appeared. Stay with me, because the deepest truth has not yet been revealed. Love is never strengthened by control. It grows through patience, humility, honesty, and grace. If another person is meant to walk beside you in the future, let that path be built upon healing rather than desperation. Let it be shaped by wisdom rather than fear. Let it become a reflection of compassion instead of anxiety. This is why I ask you not to rush ahead of my timing. There is beauty in waiting when waiting is filled with faith instead of fear. Imagine the meeting coming to an end. No dramatic announcement. No impossible promise. Only hearts carrying a new perspective. Sometimes transformation begins not because every question has been answered, but because people become willing to ask better questions. That willingness changes everything. My child, your own life has been moving through the same quiet transformation. You may not notice it every day, but you are becoming stronger than yesterday, gentler than yesterday, wiser than yesterday. The pain that once threatened to define you is slowly becoming the place where compassion grows. The uncertainty that once frightened you is becoming the place where trust takes root. Listen carefully, because this truth changes everything. I have never measured your worth by another person's opinion. I have never determined your future by another person's misunderstanding. Your value has always rested securely within my love. No conversation can remove it. No rejection can erase it. No delay can diminish it. You belong to hope before you belong to fear. You belong to purpose before you belong to confusion. You belong to peace before you belong to worry. Keep listening, my child, because the story is still unfolding. What appears unfinished today is not forgotten. What appears delayed is not abandoned. Even when you cannot see the full picture, continue choosing kindness. Continue choosing integrity. Continue choosing faith. Continue believing that healing is possible, because hearts often change long before circumstances reveal it. As this chapter closes, imagine the quiet room becoming empty once more, while a gentle sense of peace remains behind like sunlight lingering after dawn. Let that image remind you that not every meaningful victory is loud. Some victories are born in silence. Some miracles begin as softened hearts. Some answers arrive after patience has done its hidden work. And as you continue walking forward, remember that I walk beside you, encouraging you to trust, to hope, and to believe that every season of waiting can become a season of growth when it is placed in my hands. God says, "My child, remain with me a little longer, because the quiet ending you imagined was never the end of the story." The greatest changes often begin after the room has emptied, when every person returns home carrying thoughts they cannot easily explain. Listen carefully, my child, because your heart has been searching for signs that hope is still alive, and although this story is fictional, its deeper truth reflects something timeless. Love grows strongest when hearts are willing to change. Do not stop listening, because there is something your spirit needs to hear. As the evening settled over the horizon, every person who had shared that conversation carried away a different memory. One remembered kindness instead of conflict. Another remembered how quickly assumptions can cloud compassion. Someone who had entered with certainty now found themselves asking quiet questions they had never dared to ask before. That is how transformation often begins, not with dramatic moments, but with gentle awakenings that continue long after the conversation has ended. Stay with me, my child, because this is where hope begins to breathe again. There are seasons when you believe every closed door is permanent, every silence is rejection, and every delay is proof that nothing beautiful is waiting ahead. Yet I invite you to see those moments differently. Imagine a garden resting beneath the evening sky. Nothing appears to be growing, yet beneath the soil unseen roots continue reaching deeper. The flowers do not hurry the sunrise, and still they bloom at the appointed time. In the same way, your own heart has been growing through seasons you once believed were empty. Every disappointment has quietly taught you compassion. Every unanswered question has gently strengthened your patience. Every difficult goodbye has prepared you to recognize genuine peace when it finally arrives. Keep listening, because there is another layer to this journey. Picture someone sitting alone by a window after that family gathering, reflecting on every word that had been spoken. They begin to realize that fear often disguises itself as certainty. They remember moments when kindness was overlooked, when misunderstandings became larger than truth, and when silence replaced honest conversation. Slowly, regret gives way to wisdom. They cannot rewrite yesterday, but they can choose tomorrow differently. My child, many people experience such awakenings in their own lives. Hearts soften not because they are forced to change, but because grace quietly enters places where pride once stood. Do not look away. There is something you still do not know. The greatest healing often begins inside the person who seemed least likely to change. No one else may notice it at first. There are no grand announcements, no dramatic speeches, only small decisions repeated day after day until a new way of living becomes possible. This is why patience matters. It gives hope the space it needs to grow. Imagine gentle light filling the early morning as each person awakens with a slightly different perspective than the one they carried the day before. One chooses forgiveness instead of resentment. Another chooses listening instead of judging. Another quietly decides to release an old fear they have carried for years. These choices may seem small, yet together they begin creating a future that once appeared impossible. My child, never underestimate the quiet power of a changed heart. It can influence conversations, relationships, and entire generations in ways that cannot be measured immediately. Stay with me, because the deepest comfort is still ahead. Perhaps you have wondered whether your own waiting has any purpose. Perhaps you have questioned why certain dreams seem delayed while others move forward with ease. I know those questions. I have heard them whispered through your prayers and carried within your silent tears. I have never been distant from your struggles. Even when you believed heaven was silent, my love continued surrounding you. Every step you have taken has mattered. Every act of kindness you offered without recognition has mattered. Every moment you chose hope instead of despair has mattered. Nothing given in love is ever wasted. Listen carefully, my child, because this truth changes everything. Your future is not built upon fear. It is built upon character. It is built upon wisdom. It is built upon the quiet strength you have developed through seasons that seemed impossible to understand. The person you are becoming is more valuable than any temporary outcome. A peaceful heart will always carry greater beauty than a hurried victory. Do not stop listening, because there is one more picture I want you to hold within your heart. Imagine the sunrise breaking across the sky after a long night. The darkness does not argue with the light. It simply fades away. In the same way, fear begins to lose its power when hope is welcomed with courage. Healing begins where trust is allowed to remain. Love becomes stronger when it is guided by patience rather than pressure. My child, continue walking forward with confidence. Continue choosing compassion over bitterness, truth over fear, and faith over anxiety. Even when you cannot see the next chapter clearly, remember that growth is often taking place beneath the surface. The story is still unfolding, and every new dawn carries another opportunity to become the person you were created to be. Hold tightly to hope, for hope has a quiet strength that never abandons those who choose to keep believing, and let your heart rest in the assurance that no season of sincere love, healing, and patient faith is ever lived in vain. God says, my child, keep listening, because what appeared to be the conclusion was only another doorway leading into a deeper understanding of your own heart. There are moments when you believe the most important conversations happen through spoken words, yet some of life's greatest transformations begin within the quiet places of the soul where no audience can enter. Listen carefully, my child, because your spirit has carried questions that only patience can answer. You have wondered whether every season of waiting has meaning, whether every tear has purpose, and whether every silent prayer has been heard. I tell you this with gentle certainty: no sincere prayer is forgotten, and no season of faithful hope is ever empty. Stay with me, because there is something your heart still needs to discover. Imagine another evening arriving, peaceful and still. The same people who once carried uncertainty now find themselves reflecting upon how easily fear can disguise itself as wisdom. They begin to understand that love cannot flourish where assumptions remain unchallenged. One by one, they remember moments of kindness that once seemed insignificant but now shine brightly in their memory. The smallest expressions of compassion become the strongest evidence that hope was quietly growing all along. My child, this is often how healing enters human lives. It does not always arrive like thunder across the sky. Sometimes it arrives like the first light before sunrise, so gentle that only those who wait patiently recognize its beauty. Do not stop listening, because this is only the beginning of another deeper truth. There are invisible battles within every heart. Pride wrestles with humility. Fear wrestles with trust. Regret wrestles with forgiveness. Yet every time love chooses understanding instead of judgment, light quietly overcomes darkness. That victory may not be visible to the world, but it transforms the one who embraces it. Never believe that small choices are unimportant. Every decision to forgive, every decision to remain kind when bitterness feels easier, every decision to continue hoping when disappointment whispers otherwise becomes another step toward lasting peace. Keep listening, my child, because your own journey reflects this same pattern. There were days when you believed your strength had disappeared. There were nights when silence felt heavier than words. There were mornings when you questioned whether your dreams had quietly slipped away. Yet even during those moments, you continued, moving forward one faithful step at a time. You may not have noticed it then, but each step was shaping your character more deeply than immediate success ever could. The storms did not arrive to define you. They arrived to reveal the courage that already lived within you. Stay with me, because there is something you still do not know. Imagine someone opening an old box filled with forgotten letters and treasured memories. As each page is read, old misunderstandings begin to lose their power. What once appeared simple now reveals unexpected depth. What once seemed certain now invites compassion instead of criticism. They Begin to realize that every person's story contains struggles hidden beneath the surface. My child, remember this whenever you are tempted to judge yourself too harshly or to believe that your own journey has been wasted. Every chapter has prepared you to become more patient, more understanding, and more capable of offering grace to others. Listen carefully, because this truth changes everything. Your future is not determined by yesterday's disappointment. It is shaped by today's willingness to grow. Each sunrise offers another opportunity to become wiser than the day before. Every challenge invites you to choose faith over fear. Every act of kindness plants seeds that may bloom far beyond anything you can presently imagine. Continue walking with courage even when the road appears uncertain, because purpose is often discovered while faithfully taking the next step rather than waiting for the entire path to become visible. Do not look away, my child. There is another lesson hidden within this story. Imagine the gentle sound of rain falling across a quiet landscape after months of dryness. The earth receives each drop without hurry. The transformation cannot be seen immediately, yet life begins awakening beneath the surface. In the same way, hope often returns gradually. Healing unfolds one moment at a time. Trust grows stronger with every small decision to believe that goodness is still possible even after seasons of disappointment. This slow work of renewal is not weakness. It is lasting strength being formed with wisdom and patience. Stay with me, because your heart deserves peace more than it deserves endless worry. Release the burden of trying to control every outcome. Release the fear that every unanswered question must be solved today. Instead, allow your spirit to rest in the quiet confidence that growth continues even when progress feels invisible. The greatest victories are often those that first transform the heart, before they ever transform circumstances. My child, continue becoming the person who reflects compassion, integrity, humility, and hope. Let your words bring comfort where others expect conflict. Let your actions reveal kindness where others expect indifference. Let your faith remind you that every difficult season can become a place where wisdom quietly takes root. Keep listening, because the story has not yet reached its brightest moment. Ahead lies another chapter where healing becomes clearer, where hope grows stronger, and where the quiet lessons of patience begin revealing their beautiful purpose. Until that moment arrives, remain steady, remain hopeful, and remember that every step taken with love carries lasting meaning. Even when its full purpose has not yet been revealed, God says, "My child, remain with me until the very end, because every journey of hope deserves a conclusion that fills the heart with peace rather than fear." Listen carefully, because the greatest revelation in this story was never about a single meeting, a single conversation, or a single moment. It was always about the quiet transformation taking place within every heart willing to choose love over doubt and grace over resentment. Do not stop listening, my child, because your spirit has traveled through every chapter carrying questions that only patience could answer. Now you are beginning to see what was hidden from the beginning. The imagined family gathering was never the true destination. It simply became a mirror reflecting a deeper truth, that every person carries unseen fears, silent hopes, and an opportunity to grow beyond yesterday. Stay with me, because this truth belongs to you as well. There may have been seasons when you believed you had been overlooked, misunderstood, or forgotten. There may have been moments when you measured your worth by another person's acceptance or rejection. Yet I have always invited you to see yourself through a different light. Your value has never depended upon changing someone else's opinion. Your worth has never rested upon another person's ability to understand your heart. You have always been precious because you were created with purpose, dignity, compassion, and the capacity to love even after disappointment. Keep listening, because there is something your heart needs to carry beyond this story. Imagine dawn arriving after the longest night. The first rays of light do not erase the darkness with violence. They simply shine until the darkness quietly disappears. That is how hope works within the human soul. It does not demand instant perfection. It patiently illuminates each step until fear slowly loses its voice. My child, allow hope to become stronger than anxiety. Allow kindness to become louder than bitterness. Allow forgiveness to become greater than regret. These quiet choices become the foundation upon which peaceful lives are built. Listen carefully, because this changes everything. The future is never shaped only by extraordinary moments. It is shaped by ordinary acts of courage repeated faithfully. Every encouraging word you speak, every honest decision you make, every act of compassion offered without expecting anything in return becomes part of a legacy far greater than you can presently imagine. Nothing done in genuine love is ever wasted. Even when results cannot yet be seen, goodness continues growing beneath the surface, preparing a harvest that arrives in its proper season. Stay with me, my child, because there is one final picture I want to leave within your heart. Imagine standing beside a quiet river at sunrise. The water continues flowing without rushing. It does not compare itself with yesterday, nor does it fear tomorrow. It simply continues moving forward, reflecting the light that touches its surface. Let your life become like that river. Continue moving forward with humility. Continue reflecting kindness wherever you go. Continue trusting that every new day carries another opportunity to become wiser, gentler, and stronger than before. Do not look away, because this final truth is the greatest gift of all. Love that is rooted in patience will outlast fear. Hope that is strengthened by faith will outlast disappointment. Peace that is nurtured through compassion will remain even when circumstances continue changing. The deepest victory is not convincing everyone else to understand you. The deepest victory is discovering that your heart can remain filled with grace, regardless of what others choose. That freedom cannot be taken away. My child, if you ever feel uncertain again, remember this story not as a promise that hidden events are unfolding beyond your sight, but as a reminder that healing often begins inside hearts willing to grow. Remember that understanding is stronger than assumption, mercy is stronger than pride, and hope is stronger than despair. Let these truths guide your steps whenever the road feels uncertain. Walk with confidence, not because you know every answer, but because you know that every season can teach wisdom when embraced with courage and love. As this final chapter closes, imagine the morning sky completely filled with warm light, birds greeting the new day, and gentle peace settling over everything you can see. Let that image remain with you whenever life feels heavy. Carry it into your conversations, your choices, your dreams, and your quiet moments of reflection. May your heart continue choosing faith over fear, patience over haste, kindness over resentment, and hope over discouragement. Remember always that every sunrise offers another beginning, every act of love creates another ripple of healing, and every step taken with integrity brings you closer to the person you were created to become. Go forward with peace, my child. Walk with courage. Love generously. Forgive freely. Hope continually. And may your heart always remember that even after the longest night, the light faithfully returns, inviting every willing soul to begin again with renewed strength, quiet confidence, and enduring hope.